Altinya. Hello guys, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? And 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏. It's the first weekend after Salo, so celebrate okay. Thank you guys, thanks for your time and welcome back. Eid Mubarak belated. All right, let's jump right into it. So, basically, we all know what is happening. After spending millions trying to buy media houses, the government basically has admitted to failing in swaying public opinion in their favor. Maybe Musa Fonologo is still a little bit too early for them to say that, but every action they are taking right now is an indication they have lost the information war, which is why we are seeing they're trying to bring up the, what is it called, cybercrime bill. It's nothing other than trying to further suppress dissent in the Gambia or go after their opponents. It's as simple as that. If you don't see that coming, then you are the problem. But it is clear, from the days of fighting Yahya Jammeh, the experience is the same. Dictators, tyrants, people who are unwilling to embrace democratic norms, they all go down the same path. And what is that path? Is exactly what Barrow is on right now. He has been on it for a while. Basically, they want to control the minds of people with what they consume, the information. But we told him from the start, the phone coming for the ning wuldan be diaspora mol konyadi, and social media mol konyadi. They have to go on social media. So the first battle is always the information war, which is why Yahya Jammeh bought the Daily Observer, shut down Radio 1 FM, shut down Citizen FM, burned down the independent newspaper, all of them. Killed Data Hydra, disappeared Chief Mane. All of that is nothing other than trying to control the information that people get. It's as simple as that. That's the bottom line. If we tell them what we want them to hear, and then, you know, pretend like this is a democracy, we're sharing information, we are being transparent, we are being accountable, when everything that they do is twisting facts or spinning them to suit their narrative, which is what they hired Dr. Ismaila Ceesay for, and he's failing at it. He thinks he's doing a good job, but everybody sees through the lies. So they go down the same path. They don't want anybody criticizing them. They don't want anybody saying anything that will expose their corruption. So what do? They start bringing these kinds of laws that will further suppress dissent, and they will try to justify it. They will go to the same people like Sankare, who was one of the respected journalists here at that time, because when you want to know something about Gambia, probably the first place you go to is Gambia Echo for, you know, the scoop from 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏. Now he is basically the mouthpiece that they will use to further suppress dissent in the country. And they will say, oh, you know, like, we're not tolerating cyberbullying. What is that? What is a cybercrime? What we know as cybercrime is stealing people's information. That's the general definition of it. You know, you have access to people's information, or somebody sends you a link in a Facebook Messenger, and when you click on it, it's a virus that just steals your data and, you know, uses it. Or you have access to somebody's account and you steal their financial information, their personal information, and use it for something else. That's what cybercrime, that's what we know. But they will bring these vague, ambiguous terms, take it to the National Assembly, just so they can use it whenever it suits them. Whenever somebody says something they don't like, they can go into that law and find a specific category and say, yeah, this is what it means. They will not define what an insult means, because in the world, they're trying to say, oh, IG said it in his press briefing. We respect our elders in this country. We don't insult elders. We don't do this. But what is an insult? They cannot define it, and they will not define it. They will leave it vague. Because insult, anybody can interpret insult. Something you say can be insulting. you know, depending on how you say it or who you say it to. I used to get offended when people tell me, oh, you lied. But I know now I can tell anybody you lied when it's not an insult, because it's a statement of fact. If I know you lied, you're lying. It's that simple. But if you said that in the Gambia, if I'm going to lie, when all you did is just stated a fact. Or somebody be caring, I look outside, somebody caring, that's not a lie. I mean, that's not an insult, but people will say it's an insult. You know, when kids are out on the streets, they know either mal football or out of frustration or you know mock or something, you come like, that's foul language. It's not an insult. When a doctor knows what he is talking about and gives you directions to do something, and you turn around and say, this doctor doesn't know what he is talking about, you know, he in fact fake his certificates and all that, when he didn't do that, that's an insult. Or when you try to insult people's intelligence. So they cannot define insult. Basically, the bottom line is they will not be able to define it. They will leave it very vague, just so they can use it whenever it suits them. Because they went after Mahdi, they couldn't do anything. They went after Bora, they couldn't do anything. They went after Ibrahim Adiba, Sonko Gambia, a whole bunch of people. They couldn't do anything because there is no laws that they can specifically use. So now they're going to bring this cybercrime bill just so they can try to shut people up. That is the scary trend in the Gambia. They will go after media houses. They will go after individuals. They will go after opposition politicians. It will never be used against any of their the president's supporters, ever. Because they will leave it so vague that they can say whatever they want and they will get away with it. Somebody says exactly the same thing and they will use the law and say, we're interpreting it this way. That's what it means. And then you'll have the hypocritical National Assembly members. They're going to hide behind na adol ko haibuka kebana womutonyal womuna adol. So menyanda kala walam niya feel ko mo manyana alfanen odal nga d'accord ba munam nandroti nga safe nga ke luwati nga land bare bi gambe be damento ni ko wala prosecute ko kare karnen e luwaji mal samal banko luwala ka taman ni na rego na adol these are our morals, these are our values. We all have different values, completely different values. Ni na musulman kunda dolomingo is a bad thing. You cannot do that. Morally, it's considered something wrong, something abhorrent. You say you are a Muslim, you pray, and then you go drink alcohol. So are you going to use that as a yardstick in determining what is moral or what is immoral? You cannot use that. So when it comes to morality, until ya memo kasori, karinyole ya omanke je kasori. Ni na Gambia ni femo meya ko something that is red, you can say, you know, nyimu fewulangal. Ni tara kabu ni ofo je nendrola. Ita kafo meyo uleri ni nara Gambia, ni afo nyama Gambia nendrol, you know. So there's all these variations that people cannot use. True, those things are abhorrent. Everybody has their own way of speaking, but as long as what they are saying is factual. In fact, there are laws. If you feel like somebody has said something that is libelous against you, or written something that you feel like you can take them to court, it's a civil matter. This person says something that is injurious to my reputation. Take them to court. It's that simple. But Molbe Menjega Olem demanding, they are trying to find a way where they can shut up everybody who is opposed to Barrow's corruption, who is exposing the corruption and all the ineptitude that is happening in that government. That's what they're trying to do. So they start labeling people, they start attacking people. Even the sisters, so now they're trying to attack those people. So to them, nobody should say anything. Yeah, I mean, UDP, the malam, they go, UDP, Molbebe, you know, Lale can never say, Menuka from UDP, now demanding, people are also coming to the realization, these people need to be challenged in whatever way we can. Because, like I said, experience teaches us they're using exactly the same tactics. All of Barrow's advisors are Yajam's former advisors, or people who were, you know, worshipping Yajam, and they knew how he operated. So to them, that is the only way to operate in the Gambia, and that's the only thing they're going to advise Barrow. And that is where we are headed. All the tactics they're using in the past, Yamenke Boranyola, Yamenke Madinyola, is intimidation. And when intimidation fails, what happens next? You go physical. When you're going to intimidate people by putting them in jail for 3 days in mosquito-infested cells, giving them horrible food, not allowing them to, shower as they regularly would, putting them in unsanitary conditions. Psychologically, you're trying to damage them, but also intimidate them, I can do whatever I want because I have the powers. So when that fails, what comes after that is assault. That is just how dictators work. I intimidated you, it didn't work. More people, open call. When that doesn't work, what happens next is I'm going to fight. It's natural. No, there's no two ways about that. It's either you yield or you push it a notch. And I know at this point, Barrow is not going to yield to people who are opposed to him. People who are criticizing him, exposing his corruption and his incompetence. He is not going to yield to those people. So what will he do? He will push it up a notch. And what is that notch? Now they will start physically assaulting people. You remember Gabriel Boramutan when they started denying, we didn't hold him. Ibrahim Dibata is different. Because as soon as the news broke out, people started calling Yalan. You can call your mayor, you can call your congressperson, you can call your senator, you can call your governor's office. Everybody call the State Department. And when you call, what did they tell you? Oh yeah, we already received a call about that issue. They are following up on it. Among Gambians or respect, which is what makes me so mad. They do not respect Gambians, but they will respect people far away in these countries, in the United States, in the UK. When those people say, we heard about this case of an American citizen, they start trembling in their pants. But more many like 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏𝒆𝒍, they have no respect for those people. So Ibrahim Diba's case was different. Immediately they will put out a press release, we are holding him at this place. Even if they don't have any case against him, he cannot be considered or even suspected to be like a missing person, where the police will not say what is happening. So that is why his case was fast. But they did it to Bora, where they started transferring him. The same thing. Transferring him from one police station to another just to, put people in the dark. People start speculating. That's intimidation. And when they release those people, Bora is still doing the same thing. Madi is still doing the same thing. When they release those people, they continue doing what they're doing. What do they tell him? It doesn't work. And when they go to court, to a certain extent now, the courts know that everybody is watching them, and which is one good thing to have Gambian citizens. You will not agree with everything they do, even the US Supreme Court, you don't agree with every decision they make, but it's a good thing to have people like Hassan Jallow, whose reputation is taped on his position and what he does. I don't have a comment to Gambia and how people are going to view him. So we may not agree with every decision he makes, but he'll be careful how he rules, because what he's interpreting the law, basically. That's his job. So if he does it in such a blatant way that everybody knows this is completely biased, he cannot escape the criticism and the scrutiny. So it's the same thing. When they took Yakumba's case there, they lost. Olana Hamadba was getting angry. Whenever the government comes, they lose. If you don't bring a case or you bring a stupid case, you're going to lose, because it's interpreting the law. And in Ibrahim Adiba's case, the same thing. They went to court and then the magistrate was telling them, this is the wrong section of the Constitution that you're citing. Why don't you just throw out the case? So these are their problems. They're failing at every avenue that they're using. So now, let us use the law. This will be their last stop. And, I want to use this opportunity. I will talk to people that I can talk to. UDP should come out, take up a position. No UDP member should support this bill. Kick it out. It doesn't matter what it says in there. They're just trying to suppress people's views. We already seen it. NPP more numerous ones. I'm not even going to name them. The SFL attacked their name, Mr. Abunyol Nenjande. What happened when they went to the police station? All of NPP's big wigs went to the police station and stood next to him to get him bail. And different other people. They are constantly online, harassing people, insulting people. In any time, the police will come over the court. But immediately somebody says something to Barrow, which is in response to what he said to other people, the police will be questioning you. So it's the same thing. Cyber crime bill, cyber bully bill, cyber nonsense bill, whatever it is, it will never apply to people who speak for the president or whose speech he likes. He will just go after people he doesn't like. So it should completely be thrown out. Forget about it. Bring the new constitution. That's the only solution. There is a provision in there where hate speech is criminalized. And hate speech, not to say, okay, I'm talking to, I don't know, somebody in PDIS and I said something foul. That's civil. They can take me to court. It's personal injury. But you cannot do stuff like what Yahya Jammeh did, stand there, call out a whole tribe and start insulting them. That's hate speech. Because that's, if people retaliate or respond, then the other people on the other side, it's going to destabilize the country. But if it is between two individuals, even if it is the president, just go to court. But they know they cannot win because they have no cases there. So this is their next resort. And when this fails, the next person they are going to arrest along those lines, they will try to set an example. So it will be violent from there on. They will more bootela, they will more torture, and they will probably kill people too. Because it's a trajectory, like it's a step stair. You go 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. That's where he's going. At first, when Barrow first came, 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒔 UDP government, he was supposed to be doing press conferences. And slowly, he retracted. He stopped doing those. And then he sends Ami Bojan to do those press conferences. When was the last time Ami Bojan did press conferences? Because they don't want to answer the questions that people have. The people want to ask them. So those were all steps. We need to control the narrative. We need to keep people in the dark and tell them what we want them to know. So little by little, they receded from the public sphere. It came our mall. When something happens, they send Ibrahim Sankare because, he's a journalist. He was a journalist. He can write. And then he will write 5 pages that nobody can read and it's all nonsense. So people will start attacking him left, right, and center. So now they limit what kind of issues they put out press statements for. Now they hired Dr. 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 and they hired all those, companies and people that we don't know to enhance the government's image or promote government policy or whatever. That is not going to go anywhere. Because you go there, everybody who goes there needs a drip, basically. You are sick, maybe you're dehydrated, they can fix a drip for you to help you recover. We understand that. But it's not a malarial drip. You are injured with some kind of other kind of injury, drip. And this is not an indictment of people in the health sector. They are just working with what they have. Because if I expect a lot of salary bond, borosa. People responsible for buying those materials are the ones stealing all the money. We've seen that scandal from the time of Safi as health minister. Even Samare as health minister complaining about the corruption in the health sector. So this is not an indictment of people who are working there. It's kind of like the same thing with NAWEC. Why are they cutting NAWEC staff salary 5%? NAWEC more many along they go to read meters. That's their job. Get on your motorbike. He doesn't even know how the generator is turned on. Why are you cutting 5% of their salary? It's the same thing. When you go to the health sector, it's not because those people are not trained. More common Gambia RN license or RNs. Maybe they just do like a kafanyadi for 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 or something like that. They just do the test and pass. When people here have to go to school for 2-3 years in order to get their RN license. So that means the material they know, the training they have. But they don't have the material that they need to do their job. So look at the fertilizer issue. Gambia bi sita Senegal ya fertilizer sanje ya transport na Gambia ya use je. If a man spend like it will be less than how much you're gonna buy it when you buy it in the Gambia. Because they put them basabali there. What does that guy know about agriculture or anything? When it comes to Tio, Moliela Tio Doku, you call ya wafi Gambia. Ika men soto jeto isa motole ya ke moto kono ya moto nyen driving at Senegal ya wafi Senegal. If a man soto leje is twice more than what they will get in the Gambia. More nyabe wal. Many are on fente bulu bataring. They buy a bunch of groundnuts. Ita ya yila ya ke palatoka. Ina ya lon disla dale coconut ya wafo la puru ila soma dino la lanchibe men soto leje. Mane na mole na ya be janja. Yela tablo kat. Iko mona clear the road. Mol nyabo. Nothing is working in that country. Absolutely nothing. And people are seeing it. All these WhatsApp groups, Facebook lives, TikTok, everywhere you go, that's the same thing people are talking about. Meanwhile, 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 stealing people's land. The government can allocate land to anybody, including president. Land that is already allocated to somebody. That's the same thing. aji ko la fono ha alkalo men ka keno wa fi mo saba mo nani mo lulia. Isn't that the same thing that they did? Because because this is government land, it is designated as residence of the Chief Justice whenever he wants to use it. Maybe Hassan Jallow is Gambian, he has his own place where he wants to stay, fine. But someday if they decide to have a Chief Justice who doesn't have any property in the vicinity, that's where they're going to stay. It's like the Vice President's residence. Why would you give it to somebody else? So all this corruption happening in Mol Nyaba, all these, failures across every sector. Imagine a citizen men confronted Barrow, Fatara Saji sound like Avango, Yokubanga, why you never say now. Well, even see here is a homosexual, well, the name as a leader. You cannot ask for specifics, and they try to spin that, Barrow is a Democrat, otherwise if this was the days of Yahya Jammeh, he would have done something about it, which is violence. Citizens have a right to express themselves. And which is one indication, Kaitandilako, it's not in Barrow's hands. Limbaro Damada Malam. That guy would not say that. The democracy we fought for and won is the democracy that we will keep. Barrow has no say in whether it gets turned on its head or not. That is up to the Gambians, whether they will stand and fight. And you can be rest assured Gambians will stand and fight to maintain that democracy. May I what Barrow. So the sooner he learns that, the better for him. Instead of wasting people's monies on nonsense. Because more they are the Near Solo send them far just for protest. He is a martyr that people look up to. Maybe I want to be the next Solo Sunday. Maybe somebody else want to be the next Solo Sunday. So, when you cross that threshold, that's it. So you can try intimidating people, it will not work. The next thing you're going to do is stain your hand with people's blood. That will not work either. What happened to Yajame is what's going to happen to you. And then what? Yellow family come over to nobody's going to utilize it. It's going to waste after spending millions of people's money on it. So that is the whole point behind this cybercrime bill. They have no way of winning people's hearts and minds back to accept the government and what it is doing. Not that meeting, UDP thing, Cardinal thing, that's all he can talk about. He has no policy direction, absolutely nothing to talk about other than that. Or blaming the same Senegal that is now reducing the price of fertilizer and subsidizing rice. It'll be the for Ukraine war. For Senegal, everything is based on government's policy and how they address it. When people are concerned about the cost of living, how much rice is costing them, you look for ways to cut down the price. If people import rice and bring it into the country and you charge them, I don't know, $50 customs duty, okay, we're going to take that $50 out so that you can, cut that out of the price of the final bag of rice that you sell to the consumers. So instead of selling it for, let's say, $250, that $50 that goes to the government is now in your pocket. You don't have to pay it to the government. So now sell it for $200. But the transport cost, okay, if I'm going to transport it from Banjul to Basse, the truck is going to consume, I don't know, 50 gallons of gas. Okay, so we're going to cut down the tax that we charge on gas just for this period, so that trucks, if they're going to buy 50 gallons of gas for $500, now they can buy it for $300. So your price of transporting it to Basse will come down too. These are the policies that governments use. Subsidize. Wherever the government charges money so that they can increase their tax revenue base, they can cut back so that the people can have what they need at the other end without paying too much for it. But until everything that comes, they want their cut, and then they start blaming Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, for what is happening in the country. But Senegal, which has 15 times more people in their country than the Gambia does, and their economy is based pretty much on the same thing, fishing, agriculture, until recently when they found oil. But until we cannot manage ours. So these are the people they are stuck in 2016 or 2017. They will never come out of that. Let's just focus on what is wrong in the country, because it's not fair that, you know, the people surrounding you from, you know, war-torn countries like, I don't know, in the north of Mali to Chad live in better conditions that Gambians are living. And you cannot see past that, and you cannot see the fact that the people charged with the responsibility of making things better are making their lives better while everybody else is struggling. So the more forever, you know, they come up with all kinds of excuses. You cannot even understand what kind of excuses people are going to come up with. It's like this cybercrime bill. They will come with all kinds of excuses just to justify it without seeing what the government is targeting. It's like they don't know what politics is or how power operates. Power doesn't like to be challenged. So whatever it can do to shut people up and masking it in the guise of, we're trying to promote decency in our society. It is not the government's job to promote decency. That is a moral issue. Let the people deal with that. Like I said, Nico Banandro something criminal, all our children will end up in jail, in juvenile detention. Why? Because honey take it ban. Morally, it's wrong, but it's not an insult. It's foul language. It's kind of like if you tell people in New York that if you use the F word, you're going to jail. Like, you might as well turn the whole entire New York Island into a jail, because that's every 3 words is the F word. So it's the same thing. The easiest way to control that is to let Barrow go and talk about the fertilizer issue. Kabrata Rajela, was it 2-3 years ago? And he said fertilizer ya sanna ya samana jambando moltarika wafi Senegal, which is incompetence. So people started talking about that you are the president. You said fertilizer should come into the country and distribute it, and the people who are supposed to distribute it took it to Senegal instead of distributing it to the Gambians. Nobody went to jail for it. Nobody was prosecuted for it. Nobody was charged with a crime for it. And it is a crime. So talk about issues. People will respond you with issues. You go personal, people will go personal with you. And since nobody is above the law, why would you arrest the person who responded and not the person who attacked? But these are the kind of things that they will use. Until just like the Inspector General of Police said, like he doesn't know his job. Yes, mulk alfal bunya, barak farang na ke fam bunya. Ni alfa me ya fam. Joma belo le halfa salane. Joma belo le Mr. Dabane. O SDA jatane. Because ma kulek. Iba fula la me like la drum ngene. But it afla kuma la faja me alon ka jabiro ndrol. But nita lo the president ma. Ebe mol nen, ebe mol doyala, ebe mol komol nen, ebe mol telendel. Ya mera mote jango. It's the same thing. So if you want to, control these kinds of issues, act right. That's the easiest solution. Instead of bringing laws that, are aimed at, that's the goal. But he couldn't do what he wants to do. Targeting media houses like 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏𝒆𝒍, but he knows he has no avenue to go after them without making himself look bad. Legacy. He doesn't even know what that means, but legacy. Like, he doesn't want to be associated with anything undemocratic. But what he doesn't know is he's pushing himself towards that. So since he doesn't know how to do that, this cybercrime law is coming. Nakaya Fandahande, let him bring back the constitution that the CRC, that the Gambian people want. Let him not do a 1997 Yajama constitution. They went up for consultations all across the country. They changed it and took it to the National Assembly. That's how we have the 1997 constitution. It would have been a good constitution if they stuck to what the draft constitution was in 1997. So Barrow wants to do exactly the same thing, but there's no surprise there. Ninsi Dinjakame advice, Fawakato Manjara ke advice, Rambo Jatanyol ke advice, Farmer Jampa ke advice. What do you expect? Ya Jamaica Nyafana Wala Nametajan 22 years. So that's where we are headed. Intimidation is not working, and he already realized that. He cannot rely on the courts because, to a certain extent, they are an improvement on what used to happen on the Jammeh's watch. They still have a long way to go. But what was happening on the Jammeh, where judges are fearful of their jobs, so they're going to do whatever it is that the president asked them to do, to a certain extent, we are past that. So since he cannot rely on these institutions, he is going to try legislating or bringing laws that are aimed at helping him maintain the status quo, which is nobody should say anything against me. And then when that fails, that's when he will start these atrocities. Yeah, start numboralale. Basically, I think they were testing the waters. And then people started screaming left, right, and center. Human rights groups, they are also under scrutiny. So all of this is just for him to try to find a way where he can get his way without people criticizing him. Just allow you to. From now on, if you've not been paying attention, pay attention to how Barrow is speaking. I cannot listen to him. I just get snippets here and there, which I find funny, but also it's telling. So sometimes that's what it is, you know, you just read between the lines. Like I said, they will bring this to the National Assembly. They will keep it very vague, just so they can use it whenever it suits them. But the way he is talking, the way they're countering everybody, Minister of Lands, covering Al-Kambaye, they brought out their piece, exposing corruption. They're all over the place. They feel like they need to respond to everything that is said, which is valid in this case because, you know, corruption at the ministerial level, you don't just go put out a stupid statement. Come and bring the evidence. You've been charged with this in the public square. Bring out the evidence. Or this is what is happening. Let the people know. Transparency. Instead of you putting out a full page of nonsense. But that's what they're trying to do. Before 2026, we want to make sure we control the narrative. They cannot control it. Their latest venture failed. So now, let us bring in legislation. If that works, then all the best for us. But it will be selective. So to the National Assembly members, like I said, you know, this is where, even if the other National Assembly members are going to vote and approve it, your hands will be clean. And I'm talking to UDP National Assembly members. Don't fall for this moral nonsense that they're going to bring to you. You know, everybody has their way of speaking. Model be kumajimila, model be nyakasa, model but alpha men katu barabara nendro na lota da mol na mol do ala mol telendel a jablu ngobije. So mol ba continue ka jabi. So all this moral nonsense they're bringing, he will keep saying what he's saying, he will keep doing what he's doing, and then whenever anybody responds to him, they will try to use it against them. But anyway, Gambians are realizing the truth now, that everywhere there is failure. When you look at agriculture, it's failing. Because in Senegal, you better wall agriculture, la seno e kamen sotoje, and it'll a base sifatling, it'll go offense sotoje. Senegal masakunda ka menkela Senelali jambandol ning do jorangol, nata dara ning campagne waro sira ka falol sa ka idi mo. Sate dantan no may falol sika wal diwol. So Gambia on jabe tilinde wala. Mane na la mol wol fana ko to be lu wala sambendu yanika. Bari mantra fenna ko muske balla tiol tian ko ma palatol tinya kela siran dungol tinya kela palatol lo menka ka mol la bungol boy silol ka. Ite kedu la le lawo. Angelo do fon be jaga ko mane fon maybe o fon oppositional. Because it make it cool fon lo mfere. Dito ka wulla do roy mo fedrom purumi saji ko to ma. They don't see the consequences. Because it's Tara Dunia Dauda. And in Thailand, I think Nita, just look for it. The Thailand Marseme Alonkabe train Siloka, Internobile Bay will Siloka and train and be a bagasol and the everywhere you go, more Catarian transit position because Wafroka Kenoje. But Nita Tara for some dog say, okay, Nimanya Nakela. Also, Siadi Moleko Kalboja. Near mall bondage, remote bondage, Taradauda, business of Kadam, that's all they're interested in. More benefit on Sandamento. Five jump for the farm and jump more about doing, you know, Bricam and Kana Wafro over. Woman will not offend because I feel like on in Narajan, don't come out some manager, because of the jambak, so now Sandro Vitarial. People will go where the business is. But it a wooden and Dorina, maybe fit for the Moloke, Mola Bagasol Betina. Gambian on Yaba. So let's focus on that. From now against 2026, they will do everything they can starting with this intimidation and this, violence that they're about to unleash. Because so what are they going to do? Set an example. That's their next goal. Everything in that country is completely failing. But they don't want people talking about it. So we'll be watching those people in the National Assembly. Like they say, history is recorded. Model alfalio cool kijan and niya for kava sa kava kilo wooden like a woman na yof. But I'll follow it. Memaka to follow it. Jaloko and niya ke jalo sa for. Jalo ke cook and roll for near menke. But the akamanke for alpha and buffalo. So let's keep it up. They have already lost. They cannot regain their footing when it comes to this information. Whichever angle they come out, people are going to be there. Challenging them, challenging whatever they say. And the Ajalo say, Momodiam Tadeko UDP, Momodiam Teko UDP, and they know that's not the case anymore. So they don't have any other thing to rely on. Yala Nila Dunia Bolu Baker World. The mayor for the opposition on mayor for opposition on sign activism for Nawulda. They've already started their fight, and they've been doing it for a while. And they're gaining momentum. So say, Momo Yalankoite, your focus is not Barrow. You get completely shut out. Because we had a chance in 2021 to change it, we didn't. So now there's nobody who's going to be sitting there saying, oh, blame UDP. When they were in the forefront of fighting to get Barrow out of power. So it was a tit for tat. 2016, oh, you gave us Barrow. Okay, 2021, you gave us Barrow. But we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about what Barrow did. It doesn't matter who voted for him, who doesn't vote for him. Everybody is suffering in that country. So everybody is picking up on it. The activists are picking up on it. Those in the UDP have been picking up on it. Others are joining. So now we are moving to a place, Mayalonko. The people will be challenging anyone who's trying to shift focus away from the failures of this current government to anybody else. Because nobody else is receiving tax money. Nobody else is demolishing people's stalls without giving them any incentive. Nobody else is presiding over the mass deportation of Gambians from, Europe, who have struggled for months and months to try to get there, and the government is saying nothing about it. Whether you say they should be returned home, they shouldn't be returned home, the government is saying absolutely nothing about their plight. And these are young people who went out to seek a better life. They are coming en masse to their country. There's nothing waiting for them there. The government has no plans for them. It doesn't even seem like they care about them. So these are the things that people are focusing on, and anybody who wants to be focusing on anything else is a detractor. And they will be the ones who are going to be receiving the brunt of any attacks that are going to come after them. So let's keep talking. Let's keep fighting. Hopefully, by 2026, you cannot force anybody when they go to the ballot box what they're going to do. They just decide what they want to do and let them go ahead and do it. But reminders are helpful to tell people, look at your condition today and remember it when you walk in that election polling station. You get to remember that. So that way, you know who you're going to vote for. If it is okay with you, then go ahead and vote. But people will keep talking. Because Gambia and it's not like 100% of them vote for Barrow. If that is the case, then it's easy to just wrap up. But there are people who don't vote for him, and they do it out of genuine concern for their own, interests and for the interests of their children. So for those people, they need people to be advocating for them. Which is why we keep talking. It's not like, oh, your talking is futile. It's not. The government will never admit it, because that's how power operates. It never admits that it failed. It will do things that are kind of, subtle. You just have to read between the lines, which is why I said they lost the information war. Because first, what were they doing? We're going to charge, or we're going to attack different media personalities, different media houses, and say, these people are unfair to the government, these people are unfriendly to the government, these people are this. You understand, and I think, was it Star FM or some other FM radio station, Katlawal attack all the time, and they don't even go there to talk to the people when the media houses are open to them, but they can't find opposition call them. So first you start to tarnish their image. If that doesn't work, you try to regulate them, but they are not violating any laws, so you cannot use that. So what happens next? We're going to formulate laws that can make it easier for us to go and target them. And that is what they are working on now. So let's all be vigilant and do what we can do. Talk to the people we can talk to make sure that we remain in a democratic country Because if he passes this, the next thing that's going to happen is use it to lynch people. That's all his goal is. You know, baro. They don't understand how power works. And it always heads in the same direction, unless it is contained by the people who have the voice. And hopefully that's what happens in the Gambia. So anyway, Allah barakawatu tar. We'll see you again next Saturday, inshallah.